Hello everybody and welcome back to Crit D&D. We're going to hop back into our Ravean campaign here. The last session that we had was actually our first session, so we're moving on to the second session now. The beginning of which we end up seeing the party consisting of 6 players, being Flawed, the tiefling druid, Jade, the human-appearing wizard, Lembaqual, the tiefling-appearing druid, Serenity, the elemental elf, the water elemental elf, Sudi Velignacia, the human-appearing shifter cleric, and Zoithsil, the dragonborn rogue, spending much of their, last remaining evening of the Vermont Empire's Empire Day Festival in the Fallwind Inn to rest for the evening and, enjoy themselves. Before their contacts that they made during the closing ceremonies of that festival's, we'll call it a raffle. It's probably the easiest way to describe it. They're in the bar of the Fallwind Inn where they are planning to stay for the evening. The waitstaff approaching to serve them is a young man named Jared. He's fairly timid, uncomfortable, unsure of himself, and as Flawed makes his order of an ale and the young man's company for the evening, he spooks the boy, sending him scurrying off to the bar again. As this is going on, shortly after, Sudi and Serenity make their way up and off to another table to watch a foreign musician from the Serac Wastes as he prepares for his performance later in the evening. Practicing and showing off, in Serenity's case, her magical arcane skills with her prestidigitation cantrip, to, at the very least, make plain water taste like a fine wine or other booze to be somewhat more enjoyable. The two getting closer as the evening progresses. In time, the rest of the party's orders come back under the care of Carmilla Falcon, the owner of the Fallwind Inn. She runs a tight ship, and due to the discomfort that her employee had to suffer through being a timid young man, heftily upcharges the group for their demeanor as well as the ability to do so, given that it's the end of a festival and people are a little bit more in good spirits than they would normally be. In a moment, with her charms, X convinces the owner, Carmilla, to let her lend a hand, bringing drinks back and forth as needed from the root cellar. And as Carmilla takes her down into the root cellar, X took a moment and very slyly and seductively pushes Carmilla against a cask of ale, attempting to seduce her and convince her to spend the evening with her once her shift is done, which she is successfully able to do, gaining a companion for the evening. X, on the other hand, in terms of companionship, is stuck waiting and chasing down leads on another man that might be able to join, as opposed to Jared, the far too shy waitstaff man. He gets word that there is a lumber worker, a lumberjack, that will come in and freely spend time, say, with whoever might need it. And he eventually is able to find him and meet up over time. As the rest of the group celebrates, some stay in the tavern's dining hall, enjoying drinks, food, whatever they might enjoy, and some others retire to their rooms for sleep, or a not so restful sleep, given the warm embrace of companionship for the evening. Eventually, they are able to all find rest before they're able to meet up the next day, as the plan would be for their contact. In this campaign, it is extremely important to recognize the power of the plane of dreams and its connection as a conduit between the inner and outer planes, given that it encompasses pretty much everything, and most of the gods are locked to the outer planes. This means that dreams have significance, and on this, the first night of our player's campaign, we see a number of players have dreams. One of the interesting things is I will handle a lot of the different pieces of dream sequences as a group. I'll do that now, but usually in session, people are willing to share as much of the information as possible. This first session, every person that wanted to got dream sequences individually and privately. So, in the interest of all of my players being able to look back at their individual dream sequences, I will include them at the end here in rough detail of what happened at this point, just so that we can keep things in track. So for those of you that have not heard other people's individual dream sequences, please do not listen to the next section unless you are the player that this is your dream sequence from before, or eventually if you get permission to do so. For everyone else, just enjoy the madness. We'll start out with the dream of Lemba Qual. This and all of these dreams are happening in the Fallwind Inn, the night of much of our party's companionship and rest before they even take steps to make a journey. So, keep that in mind as you listen. So, Lemba's dream. You look out the window of your room, the scent of the late night breeze blowing the scent of festival foods in through a slight crack in the sill. The old wood, creaking slightly in the breeze, is overshadowed by the sounds of a still raucous crowd of festival goers as they drunkenly make their way from the pub below to the streets and return to their homes. For the first time in a long time, you are relaxed, oddly at peace, especially given the day's events. Closing your eyes, you take a deep breath of the peace that surrounds you like a warm blanket, laying down on your side to look out the window once more. The moon itself, however, is broken, hanging there in the sky outside your window, and to your horror you come to realize the nightmare from your childhood has returned. The moon before you, split into two, offers no comfort, no threat, no feeling. It simply exists, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. You've had this dream before, a nightmare as a child that sent you crying to your elven caretakers, though it has not plagued you for quite some time. The moon in the sky before you split with its two halves slowly drifting apart is not this terrifying monstrosity. It is no threat, yet it deeply disturbs you and shakes you to your core. In the back of your mind, you hear a small, quiet voice, almost like your conscience speaking out. Make me whole. With a start, you jostle awake, laying on your side as with the dream. At this point, I had Lemba make a perception check. As she wakes up and she looks out the window, the moon is whole again, as is normal in the world of Ravean. But she does hear a tiny bit of scrabbling outside of her window, but when she does go to check, there's nothing there. The moon outside her window, normal and full, hanging in the sky in one piece as it always has been. We move now to Jade's dream. As you lay down to sleep, the sound of the festival slowly winding down around you, and the subtle breeze still caressing your cheek and sending you off to sleep. As you drift off, the darkness of your inn's room is replaced with a soft and gentle light, as the cool night breeze is warm against your skin, and the moon shines bright through your window. You awake beneath a large green tree in a bed of soft long grass, the sound of a wooden bamboo wind chime gently clinking in the soft breeze. As you sit up, you see a vast grove of bamboo before you, and stretching through it is an old dirt path. As you sit up and look around, you notice that down that path is a collection of pedestals, and as you walk down the path, a collection of these pedestals, unmarked, with very clear placard stones, also unmarked, are there before you. There are 14 along the length of this path, smooth and unremarkable, other than being base stones for whole statues, it would seem. Eventually, as you reach the last of the statues, you can see that the dirt path and the bamboo forest open up into a grove, a cultivated and beautiful space with long and still regulated grass, a pond, a stone lantern, and a building to the right-hand side as you enter this grove. This small building, raised floor and paper walls, is dark and unused. Its paper walls are open, and the deck is littered with fallen bamboo leaves and odd flowers. And as you walk forwards, you see that these paper walls are also ruined and broken in places, almost like it's gone through a hurricane. As you take steps forward, there is a bench in front of the pool, sitting beside a large stone lantern that flickers softly, almost comfortingly. And as you sit on the bench, you see within the pool the soft, gentle, flowing tails and bodies of various colorful fish that just lazily make their way through the pond. You hear a calm, soft voice on the breeze as it curls past your ear. "Welcome to my grove." You turn and see, flickering out of the stone lantern, a woman in a red carved bamboo armor and a sword at her side as she sits beside you on the bench. A long, wide-brimmed hat obscures her face, and only a soft smile betrays her demeanor. Long black hair with red highlights at the ends fall out from beneath her hat, framing her face, and she sits there watching the fish with you for a moment. "I am your guide. I want to be here to help you." Slowly the breeze grows a little bit more intense. This spirit, for you listeners, if you have not gathered yet, is a quarry spirit, as Jade is a Kalishtar. In the world of Ravean, with the power of the Plane of Dreams, more direct conversations are possible. Limited, but possible. From here, as an easy sum up, this spirit offers her wisdom and strength and ferocity to Jade before a strong wind racks the bamboo grove, the warmth slowly being sapped from the entire area, giving Jade this chill. And as she shivers, slightly holding her arms around herself, she closes her eyes against the wind as she feels it grow stronger and stronger before it suddenly just stops. And as she opens her eyes again, she's back in the room of the Fall Wind Inn. All right. So now we'll move on to Sudi's dream. As the night grows cooler and a breeze blows in from your inn's room window, Memories of the cool desert nights of your homeland press in on your mind. You slowly find yourself drifting off to sleep, conflicted by the bittersweet memories that have entered your mind. As your eyes close and dreams come, the familiar sandstone and marble hallways of the palace greet you once more. The gold and brass-trimmed window frame, the gold and purple silks that blow softly in the ocean breeze. As you walk these halls, you pass nobles and guards who seem to not notice your existence. No matter what you do, these familiar faces do not notice you in any way. No recognition in any way, save for one. In your desperation to move through these halls, invisible to all, you suddenly feel a hand on your shoulder. And as you turn to look, you see the hated face of the usurper, a new sultan that has replaced yours, as he stares at you with a solemn face. I am sorry, Sudi, but you were spared once the judge's axe. Now you return to face it again? He grabs you by the wrist, dragging you forwards towards the throne room. As you struggle and fight, kicking and slashing with your claws, he's undeterred and just continues dragging you forward. As he slams you down, head over a chopping block, a red-robed figure steps into vision, just in your periphery. And though you cannot see their face, you do see the large axe that they drag along the ground beside them. You hear the executioner take a step, and then another, and another, slowly getting closer and closer to you. You are blocked down, held down against this chopping block, and looking up at the Sultan sitting on his throne as he has this solemn look on his face. You hear the executioner grunt as they lift this heavy axe over their shoulder. You are doomed to lose your head, and you squeeze your eyes shut just as you hear a whoosh of air, the metal of the blade ring, and for a moment your vision swims. Did you just lose your head? But soon your vision refocuses, and your head is rightfully still on its shoulders. As you look up, you see the red-robed figure holding a massive axe in one hand with ease, with a red veil over her face. Your goddess. The Crimson Tactician stands your defender, surrounded and covered in gore as the Sultan, the usurper, is no longer on the throne, at least not in one piece. He is instead splattered across the throne and up the wall behind it and across the floor. Her foot is set gently on the Sultan's head as she kicks it towards you and it rolls towards you. Vengeance, the woman says, her red eyes burning bright beneath her red veil. Slight smile is barely in view through the thick cloth. And suddenly you're awake, back in your room, once more with an odd iron taste in your mouth, like blood, and the words of your goddess ringing in your ears still. Vengeance. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted. This is now Serenity's dream. As you lay to sleep, you imagine the sounds of your oceanside home. After the long and arduous events of the day, what you need now is just to relax and rest. The cool breeze through your window, while not the usual salty sea air, is welcome all the same to you, and as you close your eyes, you find yourself relishing that soft, gentle breeze. Gradually, the breeze seems to grow saltier, and as you open your eyes again, you're no longer in your room. Not the room in the inn. Your eyes adjust to the harsh light as you face up at the sky, the bright sun slowly crawling its way to its zenith before you. As you sit up in the soft, warm sand, As it sticks gently to your back and into your hair, you find yourself on a long, stretching black sand beach. You're on an island somewhere unfamiliar to you. You see this verdant jungle positively humming with life behind you, and a rough carved mountain that slowly seeps lava jutting up to the sky through the trees. You hear a voice call out to you, "Serenity." Turning, you see your father standing in the water, the waves gently lapping around his calves, his light sailor's clothes blowing gently in the breeze. His captain's hat blows off towards you as he reaches his hand out to you with a sad look on his face. As you run towards him, your feet crunching across the black sand before splashing into this salty surf, you reach out for him, but with every step you take, he seems farther away. You're up to your waist now, following him in the water. He looks to you with sad eyes now, before slowly sinking into the surf. Looking for him beneath the waves, you see nothing, but you do see your father's necklace, a silver chain holding a teardrop-shaped sapphire drifting by you in the surf. Reaching out, you take it in your hands, holding this pendant tight, thinking of your father. You've been being pushed by the waves back in towards the shore, still holding your father's necklace tight. You can feel almost like a heartbeat, still cold, but a gentle pulse from the gemstone on the chain. You think of your father once again, before the surf throws you back up onto the sand. And as you hit back first into the sand, you hear your father's voice once more. Sad. Find me. Before you wake up with a jolt. The sea air is gone. The beach is gone. You're back in the tavern room like normal. But not entirely like normal. Your hands are wet with seawater, and as you open your fingers, within your hand is your father's necklace. All right. Let's move on now to Flawed's Dream. As you lay down to rest, thinking of the day and the odd individuals that you spent it with, you feel the cool night air against your skin. As you close your eyes to sleep, the moon hangs in the sky as it sheds its soft light through your window. You breathe in the stale tavern air as the smell of cooked meats and ale seeps through the floorboards into your room. As darkness takes you to sleep, you feel a subtle unease in your dreams. You are floating there in the dark. No pain, no sensation, just floating there. And suddenly you hear a raspy woman's voice. "Where are you?" As this massive old woman's face with a sadistically wide grin emerges from the darkness before you. As you start to try to recoil from the woman, you feel the cold grip of many hands seizing you from behind, holding you in place and bringing you towards the horrible face. "Where is my gift?" the woman's face says again, snow-blind eyes staring off into the darkness. At this point, I asked Flawed to make a wisdom saving throw. As he made his throw, he unfortunately failed. And I would describe as he felt the cold hands that grip you slowly begin to pull and claw at your skin, so rough you feel as though your limbs themselves may be pulled from their sockets. And just when you reach the breaking point, you see the old woman's smile fade. "Pity," she says, as you feel your one other good horn break, your flesh tear, as your arm is ripped from your body, and you scream as you are slowly torn to ribbons by the many dark, unforeseeable hands. Suddenly, as your mind fights for control, you squeeze your eyes shut against the nightmare and open them, and you are there now, laying back in the inn with the gentle moon staring softly back at you once more. The nightmare of you and your death just barely lingering in your consciousness. All right, last dream. This is Zoithasil's dream, or X for short. As you lay back in your bed, relaxing and pleased with yourself given the day's spoils, you feel the cool breeze of the night air gently blowing through your window. While the day was stressful and you came close to your ultimate demise at the hands of 2 giant toads, you at least got one hell of a compensation prize, smiling to yourself as you lay next to Carmilla. You slowly drift off to sleep, comforted by the night breeze and the gold in your pack, as well as the companion at your side. In your dreams, darkness covers your entire vision, the simple darkness of sleep, as you are used to, and then something darker, something you aren't used to. Through the darkness, shapes begin to form, shapes that turn into scales. Shifting black scales fill your vision, moving slightly like the coils of a snake. Slowly, the scales change, starting from the bottom up of each scale, goes from a deep black to a brilliant silver. The slightly reflective surface of each scale is now almost blinding to you. As the silver scales grow brighter and brighter, you have to shield your eyes against them to not keep from going blind. And when you open them again, you are back in your room at the inn. None the worse for wear, still comforted by your companionship for the evening. There's a significance to these dreams as they come through. Additionally then, as they awake the next morning, the party is met with a personal bodyguard of the Princess Emilia Bramont, the man that approached them during the closing ceremony as the princess celebrated and recognized the festival and the town that hosted it. He is looking for people to assist as they travel from Timber Falls northwards to Fallfield, a city that's large enough that it has a skyport where the princess might board her skyship to be taken back to the capital of the region and capital of the Ramont Empire as a whole. They want the perceived strength that this party can afford, given the prowess of their combat during the fighting pit, seeing as they were the only group that completed their attempts against 2 giant toads, whereas the rest of the contestant groups were unable to hold their own and were either slaughtered or maimed, eventually being healed and brought back by the festival staff. This group's strength being showed in that competition caught the eye of the man as he was looking for people to be able to make connections within the region. The main body of the princess's protection detail was to be split and travel ahead of the princess's carriage in an effort to clear the way for their charge, and another detail traveling behind the caravan in an effort to address any concerns should they catch up to and find that they are needed by the princess's caravan group. Our party will be traveling directly with the princess and her main bodyguard, Germain Verholt, which is the man that had contacted them for the job in the first place. Giving the party 100 gold pieces to secure as many means as they might need for preparation, horses, a cart, anything they might need. Germain tells them to meet at the Dragon's Hide Inn just before noon to make the final preparations before they set out later that afternoon. At this point, the party split up to tackle 2 major things. They wanted to procure weapons and armor, in addition to a carriage and horses to pull it. After procuring the necessary armaments, they returned to the Fallwind Inn, and X said a gentle goodbye to Carmilla, and the party harassed Jared, the timid waitstaff who is there back in the morning, with Sudi specifically demanding support and comfort, as is her wont, effectively breaking the young man where he was struggling to find confidence in himself. And given a series of unfortunate mishaps, Jared was fired from his job by Carmilla due to a bunch of accidents on his case that were his fault. Shortly after this, the party ends up hearing a gentle weeping from the alleyway along the side of this Fallwind Inn, and X and Sudi make their way over to find this young server, Jared, driven to the brink, lost, having this mental breakdown in the alleyway. This pressure had effectively broken him. Over the course of their entire stay at the Fallwind Inn, they had pressured the young man, driven him to the brink, where they now found him fired from his job and alone, sobbing his eyes out in the alleyway. Sudi, taking her own initiative, saw fit to instill a new bead of hope in the young man, working to inspire him to take revenge on his former employer, dropping him a dagger, which he eyed with an almost hungry look in his eyes, before X dashed his newfound hopes, catching on to Sudi's plan and snatching the dagger away, telling the man that she knew that there was somebody hiring down at the other end of the alleyway, which this Jared server waitstaff, or at least former waitstaff, just slowly made his way to find, meandering down the alleyway to find this light at the end of the tunnel. Shortly after the conflict with X and Sudi, as they argued, with X asking her what was wrong with her, and Sudi claiming that there was really nothing that she was doing wrong. She was just talking to the young man, and nothing was amiss. Flawed took a moment and walked down to another alleyway and walked off, leaving the rest of the party to make their way to the Dragon's Hide Inn. At this point, unbeknownst to the party, Flawed made his way to intercept the young man Jared, giving him one of his own daggers and charging him with killing Carmilla Falcon. For whatever his reasons might have been, he took the initiative to change this young man's life forever. Meeting back up with the party, Flawed ended up meeting them at the Dragon's Hide Inn, where they met up with Germaine and the princess, preparing on their way to gather as much of their supplies, haggle over what the pricing of their services would be, with the agreed upon amount being 500 gold pieces to be delivered to the party upon completion and safe arrival of the princess in Fallfield. An incentive to keep her alive and safe and not take the money and run. Then the party hits the road, taking a moment with their horses and cart to move on and travel behind the princess's carriage. At this point, outside of the session, the player for Flawed was working with me to figure out the logistics of what happens now, given his efforts to entice the young man to kill the now at least one-time lover of Zoithzil. And he unfortunately will not find out for some time the effectiveness of what has happened, or just what path the young man Jared is now on. But they will. All right. So that is session 2. Session 3, we'll end up seeing much of this party hitting the road, getting a sense of what a life of adventure might look like for much of them as they get a sense of who they are and what they are looking to do. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for sticking with us for this session 2 summary. Please keep in mind as we continue to play, more and more things will become clearer and more mysteries will be developed. I hope that you've enjoyed the story so far. Please, otherwise, tune in later for more videos and more story as we continue to develop it over time as we play through our game. As always, please love each other, take care of each other. That's kind of one of the few things that we can do in this world. And, at least for my players, I think I told you that there would be secrets in these videos. The first one, in case you haven't found it, is within the description of session 1. This one will be a little bit more obvious. We'll see if you can find it. There are rewards to solving these various riddles and puzzles. So, have a good rest of the day, and may the odds be ever in your favor.